G'day guys, welcome back to Mile Bay. In the last episode, I was talking about how I wanted to do some fishing industry in this episode. Mostly because I wanted to get into just making a little bit more of a profit, because it's a real struggle at the moment trying to actually build anything because we just have no money. So I was going to do some fishing industry, and right now, like as you watch me build, I had anticipated doing some fishing industry, but I kind of just got a little bit sidetracked and we ended up doing something completely different. We ended up doing some oil industry, and I'm really glad we did because, man, it really pushed us from making absolutely nothing to making a fair amount of money. So that's going to be a little later on in this episode when we get to building some of that oil industry. This episode is going to be half time lapse, half live play. So if you want to, I don't know, I guess see the end results, you can skip it over to the live play. But this first little bit, what I'm doing is just expanding a little bit more of the population. We are very close to the next milestone. I can't remember what that is. It's the one before small city, I believe. Well, we haven't really even reached that one yet. So I felt like we needed to push the population up just that little touch. And plus, that next milestone means that we can start using some high density residential areas, which I think is going to be just very much needed for a little later on, because I mean, pushing the population at this stage is a real challenge because I'm trying to maintain a bit of a small feel of the main city, because at the moment we're still sort of sitting at the small town phase of St. Marie, which is the main place we're building up. And then all the other places I want to keep fairly small. I mean, I don't really want to build them too much. So I think that high density is going to really help us out quite a lot. But something else that's really been bothering me with St. Marie is because we've mostly just got the zoned areas happening at the moment, it's looking a little bit just, I guess, unrealistic in the way that there's nothing really that big down there. You know, all these places are just either neighborhoods or they're, you know, commercial districts, or even just the downtown. It all sort of seems a little bit too small. So I think it's going to start looking much better when we start building some larger areas. So getting some factories, or even placing down a school, which I'm placing down right now. This is one of the, I guess, European schools, even though it doesn't look European at all. It looks a little bit generic. I mean, I'd see schools like this all around the world, so I don't know why this is part of the European DLC, but it is, so I'm placing it down, but it's definitely an improvement from just the base game high school. I think it looks way better. But, you know, I'm mostly placing things like that down because we do need some more services like this within the city, but we also need to encourage people to start, I guess, leveling up, because we've got mostly level 1 houses at the moment. The land value is pretty low in St. Marie at this stage. Closer to the downtown, it's not too bad, but around these areas, not so much. So I do need to just add a slight more, like just a couple more bits of services and increase that land value. You did see that I did build a little park that goes over the train tracks. I'll probably have the train line going over the top of it. So yeah, I think that's going to look pretty cool. We've also just been doing slightly different types of residential areas. So rather than just zoning suburbs out, I'm trying to build different types of neighborhoods. I think it's really easy just to zone suburbs out, you know, just drag a couple of roads and, you know, keep it pretty grid-like. But, you know, suburbs do very different things, and neighborhoods feel very different depending where you are. I think something like this is most apparent on Google Earth when you fly over places and you realize that not every neighborhood feels or looks the same. And I think that sometimes you get into the trap when you are just zoning in City Skylines, that eventually all your neighborhoods do just look very much the same, even if you are using, I guess, building themes mod, or, you know, using plop the globals to place down houses. I think, you know, you need to look at road patterns and city planning and how they look. Google Earth is always your best friend when it comes to things like this. So yeah, just trying to build a couple of different styles of neighborhoods, and I think those ones work pretty well in those areas. But moving on from there, I mean, we're going pretty fast. What we're doing now is we're working on some more rivers that stretch through St. Marie, because St. Marie is built on a very swampy area. I did want there to be a fair amount of rivers that do stretch around here, and you know, I guess these are man-made. there would have been a natural river that would have done something quite similar, or maybe it's been completely diverted. Something that I am taking from New Orleans, where there are just a lot of these type of rivers that are stretching throughout the city. Love these things. I always think they're super interesting, the way that, I guess the way that humans divert water and, change the flow of like the natural environment with places like this. I think are always really interesting, and then the way that the city has to be built around it. Yeah, it's awesome. So I wanted to do something similar, and I think this is probably one of my better little canals that I've created. I'm going to call it a canal. I guess it's probably not a canal. I think I've asked you guys before what I should call this. I'm going to ask you again. What do I call them? I'm going to call it a little river, but it's probably got a more of a technical name for it. I'm using a network that I grabbed from the workshop. This is just an awesome looking network, and it's great that you can create such a small little river, because usually they're very difficult to piece together within City Skylines. I also thought this would be good spots to then create a very different type of neighborhood. So this is going to be way more modern than the other neighborhoods that I've been creating within St. Marie. The other ones have been very historical, very gridded, whereas this one, I guess, demonstrates more modern types of city planning, especially the road layout, where it's a bit more all over the place, a bit more wavy, and even like it's only one road coming into this neighborhood. That's like one road access, which is again something else that's very similar within more modern ways of building neighborhoods. So a lot of fun to create this one. We'll create a few more, definitely further out of the city, because I think that makes a bit more sense. I'm actually also using, what do they call it? I think that the eco houses. I don't usually use these, and this is my very first time zoning an area like this, or even doing a district style like this. And they're probably not the best fit, but I just think that the fact that they're different to any other house within St. Marie at this stage, I think is definitely a winner. And I think a reason why that I should have like created an area like this. Plus, I think that these neighborhoods do impact the gameplay quite a lot. I think this does give me quite a lot of revenue, and they also recycle a lot more, and there's some other bonuses too, which you can never remember. But you can actually see, even like from this angle, you can see that it's so different to any other house within, or even any other style of suburb within St. Marie, and I think that's really cool. And I'll probably end up doing another district quite like that. But anyway, we're now finished with the residential portion of this episode. We're moving into industry territory. Like quite literally, this is now where a bunch of industry is going to go. This is an area that I'm going to be creating like a fairly big industrial hub. And honestly, I wasn't even thinking about oil industry. Even in this series, I didn't think it was going to be much of a thing. I was probably going to do, well, I was thinking about doing more ore and forestry, and I really didn't think oil would be something that would feature within this. And then as I was flying around Louisiana and looking at a whole bunch of different towns around here, and other cities that are around here too, and they've got like huge industrial oil hubs, and I was like, you know what? It'd be so cool to do something quite like this. Now, I'm just taking inspiration from a couple of these places, particularly ones that sit, I think this place is called Mobile. I might be wrong, or Mobile. Might even be a completely different place. Actually, I think it is a different place. I think Mobile's just a little bit further up. But anyway, wherever this is, and whatever it is, because I don't really know what this is it a refinery? Is it just, I don't know, are they, what is this? I have no idea what this is. I just know it's oil and it's something. That's as much research as I do. But anyway, what I liked about this area was the really big contrast between the natural environment, this green swampy area, this river that stretches through here, and then you've got this almost like it's so out of place, this refinery. It's just concrete. It's so industrious. It's so interesting. It's a really cool contrast, and I wanted to do something similar. And I thought, you know what, oil industry, if it's in Louisiana, I can probably get away with doing it in St. Marie as well. So that's why we're doing it. It's something that I totally did not expect to do. I was actually out this way expecting to do some fishing industry, but I'm still trying to figure out where that's going to sit. Something else that I was struggling with the fishing industry, which I'll just quickly talk about. There's a lot of pollution within the rivers of St. Marie because, and I've done it on purpose, I've got a lot of pollution in there because I really like the brown like the color it puts within that swamp, you know, turns all the water into a brown, and that sounds gross, but I guess it is. But I like it because it makes the swamp a different color. It makes the swamp water a different color to everywhere else. So I like that it's a different color, but I don't really like that it is all polluted because I can't have any fishing industry in that area. So then where do you put the fishing industry? I don't know. Like, you let me know in the comments below. I'm tempted to put it around the ocean, maybe in that other city we end up creating. Or we could put it towards that sand little holiday park that I also built, but that's more in the bay. We've got a lot of options, but I just can't figure out exactly where I want to commit to. Anyway, we're talking about oil industry. We're building oil industry. We're not talking about oil industry. Let's talk about oil industry. So we've got a whole bunch of pipes stretching around here. I wanted the pipes to go from the containers to where I think the refinery is, or even where they're drilling for the oil. By the way, this is, you know, this whole area is going to be where the drilling is taking place and also where we're producing it all. So it's all just in the same spot. It is most probably unrealistic, but I don't really care about that. I'm more interested in creating the money and creating something that looks pretty interesting, and we can just imagine it is what it is. Or maybe this is realistic. I have no idea and also don't really care. But something about this is that because we are working with money, I had to wait until I had enough money to even place down some of these buildings. And then a lot of them were also locked. So I had to wait until I leveled up to a certain level to even place down the ones that I wanted. And I had to keep on saving it just in case that I just ran out of money. But luckily I was able to cycle through some of the levels quite quickly. And then we're up to this stage where I'm just placing down some of the more advanced oil industry in this area. And now I'm just doing a bit of decorating. This brush that I'm using, it's called the concrete brush. It's one of the best assets ever. I've talked about it, I think, in my last live stream. But it's just one of those really simple squares of concrete that you can just place down, and, you know, because a lot of these industrial areas just have, you know, big slabs of concrete. And because we're in Mile Bay, we're doing very minimal detail, which I absolutely love, because you can still create quite a lot, and, you know, the detail, you kind of imagine it. I don't know about you guys, but I sort of imagine what's not there, and that's totally fine with me because it means that we can get through a lot of these areas much faster rather than spending like 2 episodes trying to build something like this. And then we're building things like basins, and we're placing down some decals, and it's a lot of fun putting this together. We're doing mostly the stuff that's, you know, more visual elements of this at the moment. And then during the live play, we're going to be getting into more of the management side of things, which hopefully that's going to be working pretty well. A couple of final things that I'm doing. I'm adding in a rock wall as well as this wall that I've got going around that I'm sort of imagining, I don't know, maybe has some sort of flooding prevention. Maybe some sort of flooding prevention. I guess it is something like that, because I would imagine there would be quite a lot of flooding that would go on around here. And this would probably be one of the last places you'd want to be underwater. There'd be a lot of very expensive equipment and probably a bit of a hazard. So we've got a bit of a retaining wall, but look, it's not massively realistic. It doesn't even go around the entire facility. It's more of a just it's just there. It's a little bit there. And this rock wall and just some bushes just around, just to create that real contrast between the natural environment and this big concrete industrial area, which, yeah, I mean, I do love that contrast. And speaking of that, really love the contrast between the modern suburb that we built, the mangroves, and this industrial area. It's so cool. I really love things like that. But anyway, that's pretty much it for the time lapse. We're going to get into live play. Let's see how we're going financially and see if we can make this thing look and work just a touch better. 13,000 I think is pretty good considering where we started. We were in debt. I was pretty much sitting at only making a couple of bucks here and there. So we are finally actually making some income. And it really just comes down to this oil industry. I think this is really just the key to making some big bucks, which is great. Now, I even think we can make a little bit of extra money too. We are doing pretty well, but it does fluctuate a bit, and there is some room for improvement. It'll be good to get this up to a higher level. I have also made some changes to the farming industry too. I've just added in a couple of extra areas of crops, and you know, just doing a couple of tweaks here and there. But I think what we're really lacking at the moment are some workers. So that is going to be our focus for the next episode, is building up the population just a little bit more. Now, before we make some adjustments to our oil industry, I'm actually going to make some adjustments just to the way it looks, because I'm noticing we're getting some cars parked in areas like this. Even just cars parked on the roads around here, I just think looks a little bit unusual in an industrial zone like this. There would usually be a parking area, which we probably need to make just a little bit larger. So I'm going to get rid of all the parking. There we go. That's going to look a lot better. And you know what? I think that's enough parking for them. They'll figure it out. Something else I want to change. We've got this road going out here. I think we don't really need that. I mean, there's no real reason why that road really needs to exist at the moment. Maybe a little bit later on when we have some sort of port out this way, this is where I'm thinking about the port. Any ideas, let me know. But this is what I'm thinking. The port will come out this way, and I think that makes sense with the industrial train line stretching through this avenue. I think that's going to make a bit of sense. So maybe we'll have a road going out there at some stage. Maybe we'll change it. I don't know. At the moment, this road right here is just fine. And, you know, I think in terms of just changing a couple of other bits and pieces that are not related to money, I feel like just a couple more scattered bushes here and there, because this is really quite a swampy area. I mean, this whole industrial zone is built on this swamp. So I kind of want to show that there's still like little bits of swamp still there. There we go. And I'm also going to grab some more of these piles of rubbish just on the edges too. And you know, I'm just so tempted just to go a little bit more crazy with these, because, oh man, they just look so good. The thing is, you just gotta be really careful with these little decorations, because they're quite demanding on the PC. So you don't want to go too much. But you know, we don't really have much more around this area, so I'm just gonna do a little bit more. I decided to do a lot more. I mean, they're just so good. They look so swampy, and I think it's such a cool contrast between this concretey industrial area, and then you've got this super lush green area. I love it. So cool. In fact, I kind of want to just work on that a little bit more. You see here, I've got this retaining wall that's a bit of a sea break. I mean, it doesn't do a huge amount, but I think it just adds a bit more realism. I'm going to continue this by dragging out a couple more networks, probably around even these areas here, because I think these would also be pretty well protected. So we'll see how that ends up looking. Yeah, I think that looks much better. I'm also going to drag out this pipeline at some point. I'm not going to do it in today's episode. I need to sort of figure out what it's going to do. But this pipeline is going to come out and probably connect up to something else. But I don't really know what that's going to be yet. And like I said, the port's going to be here. So that might even be something we do some sort of connection with. Thinking of connections, I also have the opportunity to place down some unique factories, and I think the best option is going to be the household plastics factory. I mean, we're producing both these things, we're producing quite a lot of them, and I think that'll probably be the best one for the time being. We'll place down some more at some stage. Question is, whereabouts are we going to put it? Now, I guess we are already going to keep this pretty industrial, so maybe we just keep on going. I mean, if that's going to be a port at some stage, maybe something around here could be a bit more factories and warehouses and more of these sort of commercial areas. Plus, it's nice and close to the oil industry where it's being produced, so that probably makes the most amount of sense. Now, it is a little bit slopey here, so I think what I'll do, just to make it a bit more even, is I might make all of this area. I'll grab these nodes, grab this one too. I'm going to make them all the same height. And then I might make this the same height as that. Now, I actually think it'd be really cool to have some sort of retaining wall around here, rather than just making it a bit of a grassed area. I think this would be a good spot for a bit of commercial, especially because this would be a nice little slice of commercial and maybe a bit of industry, and then this part potentially could be where the whole dock is, the whole port. So let's maybe just drag out a road and see if we can work with something like this as the border. So this is working really well because we've actually got an invisible network down here that is actually making this whole area flat, which is perfect because I want that area to be flat and I want that nice and straight like that too, because that's where I'm going to put my retaining wall. I was actually hoping this was going to work out like this. There we go, just some seriously simple parking and a couple of little zoned areas. You know what, I'm gonna put some more parking there. There we go. Yeah, just a couple of zoned areas. We're doing, well, we're actually now able to zone some office blocks because we did hit that next milestone. So I am doing a couple office blocks, but I don't think we're gonna see them grow anytime soon because we have no demand for industry. We really need some more residential, but I'm just ignoring that for the time being. We're gonna leave that. I'm hoping that's gonna turn into some little sad takeaway area, which I think would suit this area pretty well. Maybe a couple of trees around here, and then I think that will be pretty much it for that area. There we go. That just about does it. Now, I'm just realizing that, you know, I actually left this whole area open because I knew that this train line was going to connect up to this industrial area and the port. Now I've just built this thing here. So that's going to, I mean, yeah, that's annoying. I guess it could probably go underground. Yeah, maybe we'll do a tunnel. We'll do a tunnel. I mean, we'll figure that out later on. And what sort of a little shop did you give us? Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that. So, I mean, I think we could probably push this up a fair amount. I'm gonna really crank that up, and let's just see if that is producing enough, because I think we're going to be getting a lot of storage banked up here. So let's see if that works. You know, I'm just going to leave it at 150. You know, let's just see what happens. I think that we're able to keep up with the demand, and I guess we'll just keep an eye on it. Now, the thing that I think we need to really be working on at the moment, and I say at the moment, I really mean the next episode, we really need to build up the population for a couple of reasons. First of all, I want to hit the next milestone in the next episode. Small city would be a fantastic milestone to hit because we'll finally get some trains and even some other transportation systems that I want to start putting in place. Man, these train stations, I really want to start using them. So trains, yeah, I want to do it. But first, we do need to build up that population. But also, we are seeing a bit of abandonment going on with some of the industrial areas because we just don't have enough workers. The good thing is that we can actually start zoning out some high density residential areas, which we really need. Something that I've been struggling with because I didn't want to expand out too much. And I think that's going to be the best option, is actually just rather than going outwards, we go upwards. But that's it for this episode. Thank you all so much for watching. Very much appreciated. I want to give a special thanks to some of the people on Patreon supporting the channel. Emil, Adam Johnson, Matt Austin, Firefighter IDLH, Megalodon, Adrian Myers, TJ Reed, Fluffy the Cat, David Bourne, and Mario Vidal. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.